There we go. Welcome to your introduction to the admin account here at Spaces EDU. Just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Tatiana. I'm the Education Services Manager here at Spaces EDU, and I basically facilitate the training aspect. So I help our partners with onboarding and implementation alongside your partner success specialists. Hi, Lori. Thanks for joining.
Great.
We
Hi there.
are, no worries. We are quite a small group today, so I do want this session to be as interactive as possible. If you want to share about your own experiences or if you have questions, feel free to interrupt at any point. But before we get started, I just wanted to get a sense of where everyone's at in their Spaces EDU journey when it comes to their administrator account. So if we're looking at this scale from 1 to 9, how well do you think you know your how to use your Spaces EDU administrator account? So I'll just leave you here for a moment to think about that and let me know in the chat where you fall on this scale.
I'm good with support.
That's great to hear, Lori. Six is really great. Seven, seven, Marika. No worries. That's what we're here for today. Heather is in between 6 or 7. Okay, that's all right. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm confident you'll all learn something new today. Now, how do you currently use your Spaces EDU administrator account in your role? So, Laura, you mentioned troubleshooting, but beyond that, anything else within
Um,
the account?
no, I'm the main support in our district. Yeah,
Okay, so you're using that account pretty frequently then.
correct.
Yeah, awesome. What about Heather and Mirika? How are you currently using your accounts? Hi, Heather. Thanks for joining. We're just getting started, so no worries. Hi, Kelly. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going? Tatiana, are you frozen? I think she's frozen.
Hi, everyone. So sorry about that. My connection went off, and I think we're back. Thank you for your patience. Before I was rudely interrupted, we were just on the topic of how we use our administrator account. Lori uses it every day. Kelly, what about yourself? Would you say
I
your
definitely use it to troubleshoot for people
troubleshoot?
who are struggling to find out why a kid's not in their class or to manually add someone who's newly enrolled or
Mm-hmm.
just like change their settings.
Okay. Yep, pretty standard. What about yourself, Mirika?
It's pretty much the same thing. I'm the administrator of the school where I'm working. So like when the kids need some support to log in and the
Mm,
teachers and to accept new requests.
yep.
Uh,
Yep. Again, very standard. And Heather, feel free to chime in if you'd like to add about your own workflow. No pressure. I think if you have time, please feel free to share in the chat. I'm happy to talk through those. Okay, so just in a nutshell, your admin account allows you to support administrative tasks as we're talking through troubleshooting, adding kids to different classes, making sure teachers are assigned to the right classes, etc. But it's also really powerful for facilitating onboarding and implementation. So for new teachers getting onto SpacesEDU for the very first time, making sure they're learning is supported. And with implementation, it helps you also gain access into classes so you can see how your teachers are using it, and how how students are also documenting their learning. And of course, the big picture here is contributing to the district or the school strategic plan. So what the vision is at the district or the school, is this really coming to life in Spaces EDU? So all of those are available or within reach in your Spaces EDU accounts. Within your admin dashboard, this will look very familiar to you. You'll have the quick overview of your teacher, student, and family usage per school. But at the same time, if you weren't aware, you do gain access to a school report or a district report on a monthly basis that your partner success specialist sends over to the Spaces EDU leads. So that information is very important as well. We have student management, staff management, and class management, which is probably something that you're not super familiar with just yet. But this is where implementation comes in and you have access to view classes in action. And then lastly, portfolios. I know not every school or district licenses portfolios, but if district portfolios are implemented in your schools or district, you will have access to those templates and to view student portfolios as well to check in on progress and development. And in troubleshooting, basic password resets, you can see QR code, student logins to generate those for your teachers, reviewing, editing classes, and seeing a list of active invited students, educators, and staff, and just general troubleshooting within the class itself. Of course, accepting requests to join Spaces EDU is a top one. I also just wanted to call out all of the great administrator resources that we have available on our site. Now, most people think that resources we have are for students and teachers, but there are a ton for administrators as well. To locate those resources, you will go to spacesedu.com and there is a resources tab here that you can hover over. And then you have the ability to select all resources, which takes you to the resources page here, and we can filter by account type to administrator. So here we have a ton of relevant resources as an administrator, sometimes leaning more towards maybe implementation and others more on the technical aspect. For technical, so there is one in particular that I wanted to call out, which is the technical guides. Let me just click on that. And at the same time, I'm going to pop this in the chat for everybody. Definitely worth keeping bookmarking on your computer. So we have different technical guides depending on how your students and your classes are set up in the system, in the Spaces EDU system. If it's automated through an SIS or LMS sync, or typically through One Roster or now Advanced CSV, which is a newer option, we have that available. And then your school or district might be doing a CSV rostering, or if you're more on the manual side of things, we have the manual class management option there too. Just gonna pop this up here on the screen really quickly, but this is the general table of contents. So we go through how to manage your imports, like staff management, student management, class management, And if you are implementing reporting spaces at your schools, there is a dedicated section for that, as well as portfolios and any additional tasks and resources, particularly when it comes to end of year or beginning of the school year tasks. That's really here. This would be really helpful to check out and gain visibility. Okay, let's continue over here
Sorry,
and we'll, oh,
sorry,
yeah,
can
a
I jump in
question.
with a quick question? I really
Yeah, of
appreciate you
course.
highlighting that because I didn't actually look at the resources for admin. I've just been kind of troubleshooting as I've gone. Um, so this question might be answered as I go through those resources.
Yeah.
Um, but I was just curious. I've actually had a two-part question when you mentioned something about approving account requests or account access.
Yep.
And that's something that I've actually ran into an issue recently with where we have some student teachers who
Mm.
are trying to be added as a co-teacher to our accounts. And I've gone through and I've added and I've approved, but for some reason they're still not able to sign in or access that. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's something that is managed at our like district level that our accounts only set up with like at S83
Hmm.
credentials, or if there's another way that I'm missing to be able to give somebody outside of our organization access to that class.
So they're not using the not the school district email to gain access, or are they invited through a different email?
I think I've tried twice. I've tried
Okay.
with our SD83 one, but because they're not listed on the My Ed side of things that
Mm.
we're using for the rostering, it didn't work. And then I also sent a link to their invite to their personal account. So maybe this is more a more in-depth in person, like a more particular issue on my case, but y- your mention triggered it and I figured I'd
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, of course. But it's still worth investigating. So
Okay,
I'm gonna
I'll
put
reach out.
in um my email in the chat
I've got your
and
email. That's fine. Thank you.
then also the support team's email. So
Perfect.
feel
Thank
free
you.
to use
Yeah,
either of those. But really great
thank you.
question. No worries. Okay, so speaking of the admin account here, I wanted to highlight those technical aspects first and those different tabs you have access to. Here I am in my SpacesEDU administrator account. I currently own a district administrator account, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. There are different levels of permissions and account types. So you have district administrator and school administrator. School administrator has fewer uh, access or permissions involved. I'm happy to send over that Help Center article so you're able to understand a distinction between the two. And even within those two different account types, there are even different levels of permissions and access involved. So that article will help you understand what those are. So the main thing I wanted to highlight here, if you are a district administrator, you will have to select a school from your drop-down list to perform certain tasks. So just bear in mind that might be a first step here for you. In the dashboard, you have that quick summary overview, and then scrolling down, another quick snapshot of your engagement, or what's happening over here. And then the very bottom, if you are using reporting spaces at your school or district, you have the ability to turn on a formal admin review tool. This would have to be in discussion with your partner success specialist or your account manager, as it is that would require additional training for your staff. For approving staff, it would begin in the staff tab, of course. So you have all of your requests that might be coming through. And then you can also just quickly troubleshoot through these three dots here to edit the account. You could reset password, mark as inactive, or delete the account altogether. The reset for password resets, if your school is using single sign-on, the password reset will have to be conducted centrally through your IT team. And to invite staff, you can also do this through the plus add staff button. Students is the same. Over here, we have a list of students and the classes they might be associated with as well. So their grades are indicated, number of classes they're linked to, and then if they have family members associated with them as well. Sometimes you might notice that there are missing student IDs, so please double check if that is the case for yourself. Um, and that is pretty much it over here. I don't want to spend too much time in the technical parts of things, as I think it would be more beneficial for us to take a look at the class management tool and also portfolios for those that might be relevant for. But maybe what I would do right now is just pause if we have any questions about those two specific tabs. All right. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that your administrator account comes with awesome benefits outside of just technical and troubleshooting, and that would be onboarding and implementation. So you want to see evidence of effective teaching and learning happening in SpacesEDU. And so we provide you with a window into the classroom. So we're showing you how teachers are engaging students, maybe in reflective, authentic learning, which might be a key part of your district's initiative. So to facilitate that implementation or the onboarding process, we are offering the class management tool so you can visually see how educators are using their class, what type of spaces they're setting up, the posts that they're sharing, or how their students are even engaging with the platform. So those are where the insights come in with in terms of the Spaces EDU use. And with that visibility, you're able to see and set best practices for quality posts, quality spaces, and also just generating examples of where student agency has come into play with Spaces EDU. And that allows you to then share some Spaces EDU use cases and spotlights, champion users, maybe at staff meetings. So really building that community of practice as your schools or at your districts. And of course, contributing to the strategic plan, that is the top priority. And through all of those tools, we're able to ensure that there's curriculum alignment. We're able to support assessment and reporting initiatives. And most importantly, make data-driven decisions for professional development, planning, and training, which is really important. On that topic, I mentioned earlier that you receive a school report or a district report on a monthly basis. I'm going to see if I have an example here to show you what that looks like. Oh, unfortunately, don't have a redacted version of it. Um, but basically, the report does show, for example, your top classes. So from that list of top classes, you're able to then take a peek in your administrator account through the classes management side of things directly into the classroom and seeing what kind of posts, what kind of activity is happening in there. To apologize for my connectivity this afternoon. Here we go. All right, so classes. This is a list of all active classes at your school. You can see the class name, the teachers, grade levels, if that's indicated, number of students and families. And what's really great is you can also search. So what I will do here is search a specific class that I want to use for today. So to actually view this class, what we're going to do is click on the class name, and it opens up a new window over here, which hopefully you could see. Yeah, that seems to be showing up on your screens. Perfect. And here we have a view into this class, into Miss Ng's class. It looks, the access level looks very limited, but you have access to essentially what you need to be able to make those data-driven decisions or to be able to see best practices in action and borrow ideas from teachers. So the Spaces tab gives you access to all the spaces that the teacher has created. You can even make edits to those spaces. So if a teacher asks you, why can't my students see the space? So first thing you would do is probably check the settings so you can see whether or not it's active or hidden. So you're able to manipulate those space settings and descriptions as well, and then view what's happening in there. So we can look at the class space to start. Just by quickly seeing this class space, I can tell that Miss Ng spent some time building this class space, making sure that there's a nice description at the top with relevant resources. And then we can view the types of posts that they've added. So we have welcome posts here, a few ideas. You can borrow some exit tickets as an idea. I can see that Miss Ng is also utilizing activities in her class. So this is it's telling here whether or not it's an activity or a regular post just by with this blue banner at the top of the post there. And then if you're ever curious to know what instructions the teacher has provided, you can also click on that banner for additional context, which is great. And it outlines the curriculum tags that Ms. Ng is probably assessing on. It gives you access to the curriculum tags at play, including the proficiency level that was provided. So not only do we have access to the comments section to view the dialogue that's happening, but we can also, as an administrator, comment on some students' posts if you want to encourage or build community there. So really cool stuff happening in here. We have reflections, awesome class engagement on behalf of the students. So that's the class space. So in terms of documenting student learning, or if we're looking at maybe core competencies and how that's being documented as well, we can take a peek at those. We have a learning space, also known as like a portfolio space here in the class. Again, really great description at the top. We can highlight these in staff meetings as best practice. And then moving on to the posts being shared here. Doing a really great job at utilizing all the multimedia options. So we have audio and documenting that process. As we saw, there's multiple tries being documented here. So this is great visibility into how educators are using SpacesEDU. So we can gauge their experience level too. Any questions so far while we are in the class as an administrator?
I do have a question.
Of course.
Today I connect into my administrator account, and I noticed that all the classes of my school, it's now, well, it's in French because I'm in French school, but it's all like classe titulaire. It's like the, I don't know if you don't, I don't know what's in English. Like if you don't change the name of the class, and you don't put like the teacher's name,
Mm-hmm.
it will be like that word.
Yeah.
But it's all classe titulaire now. It's like there's no more teacher's name.
Mm.
Anyway, I don't know. Like I can go one-on-one, but there's quite a lot of classes in my school, and to associate with the kids and the teachers that are in the class, it's kind of like a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened. It's super random, and it's just today. So
That just happened. You just noticed that change today?
it probably happened today because yesterday it was not like that. But
Okay. Okay. I am happy to report that. Let me just take a note of that for you. It could be the way that the data is being pulled into
mm,
your system,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Because like I was trying, well, I am following you. It's pretty
Yeah, yeah.
it's pretty straightforward, but like now I wanted to check all the classes and I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't even know who's that class because
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So if there is no way for your IT team to change the name in the files, there is a way for the teacher to change the name
Yeah,
directly in their
obviously.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, well, I know how to change them because I'm starting it. It's just like I'm wondering if it's like a common problem that happened, but whatever. I don't want to interrupt this. It was just a simple question.
No, no
Yeah.
worries. Thanks for
And
bringing that up.
it's an interesting question because it's not something that I would normally go and check, but I know that we've run into some issues with how our students and our classes get rostered or get added to spaces,
Hmm.
depending on the school and how they have their data being pulled from MyEd. So for on my end, I don't have classe titulaire, but I have like their division or their homeroom name, and
Yeah.
it's just the school code and then a random number. And for teachers who haven't accessed spaces and set anything up or changed anything, that it's just that standard
Hmm.
Mhm.
identification that's
Yeah.
impersonal. But I haven't noticed that anything has changed from classes that have been set up in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it might be a glitch that
It
you're
might be a glitch,
experiencing.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish.
but I will follow up with you, Marika. We'll
Okay,
do
thank
some
you.
investigative work there. No worries. Anyone else?
I have some questions, but again, I feel like there might be particular use case scenarios, and I know 100% it's related to rostering. But like we've got some teachers who teach like electives, for example, rather than a
Hmm.
homeroom class, and so they have 7 or 8 or 10 instances of a class, and each class only has like 5 kids in it because they've been rostered based on the classroom teacher's attendance list. Um, so I've been looking for an easy way to merge all of those classes into one space so that the one teacher who teaches 300 students can have one class for their grade 6, one class for their grade
Hmm.
7, one class for their grade 8. But I have not found an easy way to do that on my end other than going in and manually just archiving the classes that they don't want to see because when they log in, they have like 40 different classes they don't fit on one page. Um, and then encouraging them to create their own class and get the students to connect with the class code, um, which isn't the end of the world,
Hmm.
but it is a little bit tedious to make sure that all the kids are there. So all the kids exist in our system, but
Yeah.
there's not an
Yeah.
easy way for that teacher to go and select all the kids that they
Mm.
teach and merge them into one class repository.
Yeah. And then centrally, is there no way for the IT team to sort of combine that attendance list?
Yes and no, but the way that
Mm.
I think our script is pulling things,
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
decided to do it this way, and changing that script for the 1 or 2 teachers at each school causes more
Gotcha.
issues, I think. So
Yeah.
it'd
Yeah.
be nice if that was something that we could manage once the students are imported and once those
Hmm.
classes are set up. Um, so I don't know if there's a better workaround or if I could like collect, if I could as an admin select 6 classes and have a merge button,
Merge
um,
button. Yeah.
that would be lovely. But I'm still
Uh,
waiting for the banner on the top to identify if I'm in the admin account, the teacher account, or the student view.
yep. Yep. I agree. I'm waiting for that one too.
I've seen it. It exists. Release it.
I'm taking note of any feature requests as well, everybody. So thank you, Kelly, for suggesting the merge button. But if you have other suggestions, pop them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and share with the group. All right. Okay, well, we can move on here even to the People tab. I wanted to highlight a few things in here. So the People tab contains the QR codes. So if your schools are utilizing QR codes for students, particularly at the elementary level for easier access, you can view those and print them out for all of your students. So you can print and save the PDF and print those physical copies. In addition to that, when it comes to class engagement, you have access to a dashboard in each class. Your teacher has access to that as well. So by clicking on the View dashboard, what this shows them is when a student and a family member last accessed the class. So that could give them an idea of if, some posts work better than others, and also just in general, if the last time they access the class correlates with the most recent post, as an example. And then in the Family tab, we can also see which family members have accepted the invite. So if we see green check marks, this tells us that those families were successfully connected. If we want to invite additional family members, we can add their email below the student's name and send the invite. And so an active invite would look like this with a gray paper airplane. And once they accept it, it will turn into a green check mark. And if they can't find the invite in their inbox, we can always resend the invite by clicking this button right here. And if the problem persists, feel free to contact our support team with any of those issues. And finally, the Teachers tab is where we can see any teachers linked to that specific class. If we want to add additional teachers or co-teachers, we can click this blue button right here to then trigger an invitation by adding their email to the list. So one thing to remember here with the co-teachers, they have access to the same permissions, settings, etc., as the primary teacher in that class. So meaning they can create spaces, they can create posts, they can send messages, etc., etc. Any questions on the People tab? All right, so I will get out of here. And the next thing I wanted to show you is the portfolio templates, just if you're curious what those look like. If your district is implementing district-wide portfolios, then you might be familiar with this feature already. But as administrator, you're able to create a template. So by clicking this button right here, it allows you to give the portfolio a designated name. You can add a description to describe what your expectations are and objectives for that portfolio and adding the media attachments as well. And then you have full control over visibility and access. So if you want a specific school associated to that portfolio, you can select it from the list, perhaps even specific grade level. And then the teacher access if you want teachers at the school to view all student portfolios or only their own students. And then those sections can be added at the bottom here. And what's great is you can also take a look at all those portfolios in action. So by clicking on that portfolio name, again, we'll open up another tab for us. And it gives us access to what our teachers see in their accounts when they click on portfolios. So here we have in the active tab, this is a portfolio grid. So we see the students' lists on the first column. And then in the subsequent columns here, we have all those sections that we created in the portfolio template. So for this specific example, we're looking at a core competency portfolio, which our BC districts will typically use for student reflections or for core competency development. If we wanted to look for a specific student, we can do a search and it shows us how many posts they've contributed per section. And if you want to go even one step further and take a peek at their entire portfolio, we can click on their name from the list. So that takes us to Scotty's portfolio here. And let's do a quick tour here of the portfolio. Every student's portfolio comes with the summary statement at the top. So here, Scotty actually added a little bio for his portfolio. That's really great. And then in the home button, we have just a feed basically of all of the posts that Scotty has contributed so far. And it looks very similar to what you see in the class. The post elements are the same and the flow is identical. And again, as an administrator, I can engage with the portfolio with reactions. I can add posts to encourage students and motivate them to continue documenting and reflecting. It's really great. You can see all of the great posts that students are contributing here. And then in the top right, the little eye icon that you're seeing here, by clicking on that, just takes you to the description that the administrator created when they were building that portfolio template. So this includes any text and media attachments as well. You're able to add up to 10 media attachments in this description. And the last icon that you're seeing is the URL, shareable URL that you can copy and share externally with stakeholders. As an administrator, though, you are also able to extract all of the links in the Portfolio Templates tab by clicking Download All Links. That's just an easier way to access that information. Do we have any questions about portfolios? All good. All right. Wonderful. Okay, well, that is a general tour of the administrator account. I know we had some pretty great discussions throughout, but I would love to hear about what your most valuable takeaway is from today, or what's one new thing you learned during the session.
It's Lori here. I'm going to make use of the resources a little more. I forget they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do make sure that they're updated with every new release that comes out. So you can rest assured that it's relevant. Thanks for sharing, Lori. Anyone else?
I know it's the last thing that you said, but I think it's for me the portfolio. Like I see the benefit. I don't know if it's the word in English, but the benefits of that for my I because I'm in a class with my students, but I always find a way for them to share without submitting their project. To share something more complex than just a task. So I can see the value of that for the class, but where I am right now, it's not something that they can use. Like I did not know about the portfolio before you talked about it. So I wish that it will come soon.
Yeah. We'll bring it up to your administrators and maybe we can start implementing that soon.
I will.
Yeah.
We have implemented portfolios in our district, and I found that most often the teachers I'm supporting are still using like a core competency or a portfolio in their class space, just because of
Hmm.
the ability to scaffold things and set activities for student reflections. So I'm going to try to do a better job of helping encourage people to copy items
Yeah.
over from the class space to the other space. And I know that it's possible, it's just a lot of clicks for a teacher to do it.
Hmm.
I'd love for them to be able to take an activity and post it to the portfolio space rather than the class space. I think that might streamline things a little bit. But just the fact that it is there and to remind them and to encourage them to use it. I also like the suggestions of having kids document their first try and not just using the spaces as their highlight of their final project.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I know the j'enseigne aussi en français, mais avec les élèves de français langue seconde, and they're always super nervous about how they sound when they speak French. So when
Yeah.
I get them to record something, they go out and something that should take 30 seconds takes 15 minutes because they record it and they listen to it and then they do it again and they do it again. So there's a way that I could give them like a one shot only, and this is like it records your first attempt and you can't go back and change it, then it would be, I think it would be more reflexive of their evidence of learning and their
Hmm.
growth and their progressions. Um, but
Yeah, I
the
love that
mindset
idea.
shift.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Thanks for sharing, Kelly.
I'll chime in too here from us at Lethbridge. We've been doing quite a bit of work on this over the last couple of years, as well as some things in the reporting space. So it's good just to get a bit of a refresher. I'm kind of coming into the work midstream, so it's just nice to see how some of these things work. Sometimes you need to see it a couple of times, and I think that administrator guide, as mentioned, is going to be handy for us. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks for joining us today. Of course, yeah, the guides are there for you to use. And if you have any questions, you can always bring it up to your partner success specialist.
Speaking of partner success specialists, you guys
Hmm.
always have such nice examples to share with us of stuff you guys have created. Um, it would be nice to have access to like a sample portfolio or a sample classroom that we could use as examples
Mm.
for things that isn't necessarily us showing our own teachers to their colleagues, because I feel like sometimes people are a little bit sensitive about maybe they don't want to share or maybe they don't worry about being judged or something like that. So being able to have a screenshot or have one of your guys' examples to show as a template
Mm.
or as an example
Hmm.
might eliminate some of that cringy feeling for some of the teachers who are using it.
Yeah, yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that I've reached out and tried to ask some of them, like, hey, will you share this or can I share this? And then we get into issues with privacy and student faces and all that other stuff. So having more of those like examples that are accessible for us to use as
Hmm.
models would be lovely.
Okay. And that would look in like screenshots, for example. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. And then on the topic of portfolios, you mentioned activities being posted to the portfolio directly. I know that has been requested again in the past, but I'm happy to request that again. I think that would definitely help with
Yeah,
just
I like
usage in general.
the way that we've
Yeah.
tried to structure it is like if the teacher wants to scaffold the reflection on a particular core competency that they've
Hmm.
addressed with this recent project,
Yep.
then the best way for them to do that and to preload the examples is to do it in an activity, and then the
Hmm.
activity gets returned to the teacher so the teacher can check it or give a glance as to what it is before it gets posted. But then when the teacher posts it to the student space, it involves the student going in, finding the post, clicking over, and
Yep.
then transferring that work to portfolios, which it is possible to do. It just becomes a little bit onerous with the amount of clicks. So if the
No,
teacher's
definitely.
done the review and said, yeah, these look good, let's send it to the portfolio
Mhm.
space, that could be super helpful.
Definitely. I would love for us to just be able to remove that barrier altogether. Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. All right. Well, I'm happy to stick around. We have about like 14 minutes left for today. And if you have questions you wanted to explore furthermore, please let me know. I'll be online. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for hosting.
Of
See you next time.
course, anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye.